All right, having reached the hour of 10 o'clock, I'm calling this meeting of the Transportation Committee to order. Our first order of business, though, is to, we have a physical quorum of the members is physically present. I will entertain a motion to present members A, or to permit members A not physically present due to personal illness or disability, employment purposes, or for the business of the board or family or other emergency to participate by video or teleconference. Do I have a motion? I do. Do I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Welcome, Mr. Zay.
Thank you.
Next, can we have a roll call?
Chaplin. Here. Covert. Here. Evans.
Here.
Ozog.
Here.
Ornatori. Zay.
Here.
Okay, next, by way of chairman's remarks, I want to thank everybody who was involved. If you get a chance to go by County Farm and the Great Western Trail, let's call it pedestrian bike rider oasis. I'm going to call it an oasis, has been completed. It was done very quickly, less than 2 weeks, I think. And it's actually much larger than I expected. So there's probably room for 15 bikes on either side of the actual passageway. So I think this is a good solution. We will continue to look into perhaps a flashing light at that point. And we'll continue looking at this area because it's very likely we might be able to use this solution at other points of our trail and road crossings. But thank you to everyone who was involved. It looks great and it was done very quickly. So right in time for the high ridership of the summer season. I also want to welcome Chris Rose here from PACE. Thank you. And everybody else, thank you for being here. Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Okay. Next, I'm going to move for approval of our minutes from June 6, 2023. I have a second. Any comments or changes? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next, I move to approve 23-2100 budget transfer of $5,500 from per diem stipend to wearing apparel reimbursement, funds needed for fleet maintenance, union clothing allowance to be reclassified from per diem stipend to wearing apparel reimbursement. I have a second. Any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, I move for approval of 23-2098, a budget transfer of $44,000 from per diem stipend to wearing apparel reimbursement, funds needed for highway maintenance, union clothing allowance to be reclassified from per diem stipend to wearing apparel reimbursement. I have a second. Comments or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank
you. Next, I move for approval of 23-2002, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Elmhurst Chicago Stone LLC for disposal of clean construction debris as needed for the South region of DuPage County's Division of Transportation for the period June 21st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024 for a contract total not to exceed $15,000 per lowest responsible bid. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Thank you. Motion passes. I move for approval of 23-1945. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to S. Schroeder Trucking to provide pickup and disposal of solid waste as needed for the Department of Transportation for the period June 21st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024 for a contract total not to exceed $15,000 per lowest responsible bid. I have a second. And any comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, I move for approval of DTP 007823. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to LRS Holdings LLC, doing business as Lakeshore Recycling Systems for solid waste disposal services as needed for the Department of Transportation for the period June 28th, 2023 through March 31st, 2024 for a contract total not to exceed $66,000 per lowest responsible bid, subject to 3 one-year renewals.
Second.
Okay, I have a second. And any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I now move for approval of DTP 007923, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Traffic Control Corporation for annual maintenance and support services for the Division of Transportation's Centrax ATMS software system for the period July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 for a contract total not to exceed $35,345, not suitable for competitive bids, proprietary software maintenance and support.
Second.
I have a second. Comments, questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I had one other chairman's remark that I'm going to take a moment to make. I want to thank Bill for standing in for Chris and welcome Chris back. And everything went very smoothly to my knowledge, so I really appreciate that. But thank you, Bill. Okay, next I'm going to move, we have some change orders. I'm going to move to combine items A through E.
Second.
Okay, now I'm going to move to approve items A.
All in favor?
Or all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to move to approve items A through E. Item A, 231939, Altorfer Industries, decrease in close, PO 6091 serve. Item 8B, 231941, Duquesne Asphalt Company, decrease in close. 231942, Hascam Environmental Corporation, decrease in close. 231943, K5 Construction, decrease in close. 231944, Monroe Truck Equipment, decrease in close.
Second.
Okay, I have a second. Comments or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next, I move for approval of 232071. I move for approval of DTP 0155B22, amendment to resolution DTP 0155A22, issued to Patrick Engineering for professional phase 1 preliminary engineering and phase 2 design engineering services for improvements to the bridge carrying County Highway 21 Geneva Road over the west branch of the DuPage River, section 18-00206-10BR, to increase the funding in the amount of $25,371.12, resulting in an amended contract amount of $749,070.70, an increase of 3.65%, and a cumulative increase of 35.31%. I have a second, and any comment or discussion on this? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. And next we have discussion topics, equipment purchases. So Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. So wanted to have a discussion with the committee and seek your support for us to move forward with the acquisition of future equipment purchases for future budgets. That includes snow plows, a semi-tractor trailer, and we also have some emergency repairs that we need to perform at our fleet maintenance facility. The lifts that lift the vehicles for us to repair, one of them is totally inoperable, or it's been taken out of service for safety purposes. So Mike and his team, fleet manager Bill Bell, have been looking into what we can expect for our next round of snow plows. Different committee, but 2 years ago we did advance purchase for our 2022 and 2023 plows, and those are coming this fall. So it was a 2-year lead time to get plows. Historically, the turnaround time was 9 to 12 months when this pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, and the board or the committee at that time was supportive of the county, of the DOT moving forward with procuring those 22, 23 purchases, buying 8 at a time, putting them on order and getting them ready to go. So fast forward 2 years, we'll take delivery of those. We're looking at the order window for 8 more snow plows for 24, 25. We're looking at a delivery of 2026, I believe. And that's if we order now under the current state contract, right? And so if we don't order it now under the current state contract and wait for the next contract, who knows when we'll get those. Typically our snow plows, we cycle through, we get about 10 years out of them. You know, we hit 8 years and it's becoming a little more costly to maintain. You know, they take a beating with the salt. And but typically we're recycling 4 per year. We have 40 plows, so every 10 years our fleet turns over. And so we will be seeking guidance from the committee to move forward with the placing those orders. Everything I'm going to talk about, these aren't the approvals. We will bring forward the necessary paperwork and approvals for both this committee, finance, and board approval. This is just giving us the ability to move forward. They're not in the FY24 budget, doesn't exist as of yet. But in order to get in the queue, this will be actually FY26. I'm sorry, the 24 budget isn't available yet. This will be FY26. I'll be long gone. The next one is a semi truck. We've had one for quite some time. We've been able to keep it operational, and they have a build slot. It is a need. It is an FY24. It was going to be on our list of priorities, but right now there's a very limited window for a build, and we could take delivery of it as early as first quarter of 2024. So the thought is, again, kind of do it now and not wait for the FY24 budget approval necessarily, but to place that order now. We won't pay for it until it's delivered. And then finally, we have our fleet facility was rebuilt 20 some years ago. And the lifts that are used for the vehicles are, I think, pretty unique in terms of their design. It was design standard at the time. We can no longer find replacement parts for them. They're absolutely critical to the maintenance of our fleet, but most importantly, they're get ready for our snow plows. And one of them, again, has been taken out of commission for safety purposes. We've been working with the vendor to source replacement parts. It's becoming extremely difficult for them to do. We would like to move forward with kind of the replacement of actually building or purchasing new lifts. They're going to not only, it's not just the lift, but they're going to have to, the area that it sits in is going to have to be rebuilt. Definitely one. We have two others that are getting of the age that they probably need some work, and they're about $400,000 each. But again, given the time frame to get a slot, we'd like to bring forward to a committee at a future date not only the requisition for one, but possibly the second and third one as well. Now at this point, that we can budget for the other three. There's 6 total, I believe, as part of our normal budgeting process.
Chris, are you finding that the supply chain is getting somewhat better, or are we still pretty much at 2 years or a year and a half?
It depends on the vehicle itself. With a lot of the co-ops, they're just not making things available. It's more dealer lots that are getting most of the allocations.
Okay. So it's really not lessening any particular. Okay. And of course, then there's back orders, so it's really
right.
Piles on
Anything
top.
that does go on a co-op is getting next to nothing for a discount. We used to get $70,000 off of a vehicle. Now it might be $700 if we're lucky.
Sticker, yeah.
Yeah.
So the snowplows would actually be bought under the state contract as a source wall, I'm sorry, and then the semi truck
Source
well as well. So those are co-ops that are available to us, and the pricing is still valid. And as long as we get our order in now, even though the build is 2 years in the case of the plows, we still get that today's pricing, if you will, and save us some money and obviously plan for and budget for these out year purchases and keep track of them.
Seems like the prudent thing to do.
No, we don't.
No.
No, we don't. So, yeah, and so what that does is that's 8 plows that we're now gonna have to keep, Bill and his team are gonna have to keep operational much longer than we expected as well. So, he'll be able to do it though. But it's, given the consensus of the committee, then we'll go forward with those. And again, they will come forward as formal requisitions or procurements at future meetings.
Do I have consensus from the committee that we should go ahead? Okay. Yeah. Yes.
When you say you recycle the old cell phones, what does that mean?
So we have, actually, we do a really good job about keeping them operational. We've sold several on Gov deals. As a matter of fact, if you see in DuPage County, a truck that looks familiar but says Illinois Department of Transportation, they actually took 4 of our plows one year.
So we sell them.
Yeah, yep. We take them out of service that don't meet our needs, but another government agency or another person might be able to find a use for them. So,
Now, we just learned in Public Works that they have an eBay account. Do you guys have an eBay?
we do Gov deals,
Okay,
and we do extremely well with that.
okay.
Yeah, so I guess it's kind of like an eBay.
We can share information, Mr.
I don't
Cavalier.
know the history of
Yeah,
public
really?
works, but
Okay.
it was the last ditch effort.
Okay.
We got an Amazon account, but no, I'm kidding.
Okay, I hope it's Prime. Okay, so we've got consensus about that, great. Next up, informational. I move for approval of to accept as information 23-2027. Vehicle replacement purchase order for the Division of Transportation has been issued through Joe Cotton
Second.
Ford in the amount of $114,125.52. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, do we have any old business? Okay, go ahead.
I would like to, there's been a lot of discussion today about the Willowbrook corner area, and I know talking to John Loper, there was a transportation study done, and put together a plan to bring a pilot study for pilot program for transportation for that area. And I know there was there's some difficulty finding a driver. Is there any action we can take on our part to push it forward?
Yeah, in part, it's really kind of governed by the federal process or federal regulations in terms of what service is offered. And Chris can kind of, also fill in some of the rules of that. But in order to provide any kind of fixed route service or on-demand type of service, dispatch service, we definitely have to comply with ADA regulations. So our first step really ultimately is to use NIC and procurement to get an RFP out on the streets to see what kind of response we can get in currently researching what needs to go into the RFP.
Okay, so we could potentially, it's ready to go if we want to put out an RFP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're working with them on it. I know leading up to the RFP, John has reached out to various providers within the state and other places on trying to, this is not in our wheelhouse, right? This is something that, it's transportation related. So what would it take to provide for the county to pilot a study and finding, providers for that? Do they have the resources, the vehicles, et cetera? And we're going with the RFP just because there was no number to pick up and call someone and say, is this something that we can have a conversation with you about? So it's a very limited market for service like this.
I'm going to speak first then on that. Okay. And Member Evans, as I mentioned today at Judicial Public Safety, we definitely, I think we should plan representatives from your district and go down to this area, see what we can do about sidewalks, transportation, make this a priority. And I think that would be a really important thing.
Streetlights.
Streetlights, yes. Streetlights, sidewalks, looking at really fundamental amenities that we can provide through the county. And we're going to make that a priority going forward. So we'll be in discussion about that. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. So I know that getting transportation out there is very difficult. And I read the statistics, like I can get them out again, but a lot of people have one or no cars there. Would it be possible, I don't know if through PACE or somebody else, that we can provide a van and have a resident there drive the van and take the people to the grocery store and take the people to their doctor's office? I mean, it seems like we're making a whole complicated issue when if we could provide a vehicle or two for that area and have one of their residents, I'm sure because there's unemployed people, that maybe they could drive that van and take the folks at least to the grocery store and at least maybe to some doctor appointments.
And those are the issues we need to look at, because of course the first word that comes to my mind is liability, and then qualifications. You have to have a certain standard, and I think that's what John was referencing in terms of what we're required to do. But those are all things that we can do whatever we can to try to make this happen.
Yeah, well, I might just add,
You may.
we do the, I know that PACE does the van that they give to a person, and the person goes to the neighborhood and picks up all the people for work. I don't understand the struggle. Why can't we get a van in that area to do similarly what they're doing for the people in the regular neighborhoods? That the one guy, John, goes and picks up Sally, Mark, and David, they drive it to the train. I'm struggling with why we're having such a hard time with this.
John, I know when you did your study, 2 recommendations came out of it. I know a van pool type program was identified. We did find a core group of residents that actually worked in the, if I recall, the I-55 corridor somewhere. And so a van pool where you take people to work and then one person, seemed like an option. What I can't recall is whether we ran into the issue of that dedicated driver, and the shifts that people worked.
Well, that's part of the issue is, when PACE goes into a neighborhood to try to find that driver, they do interview process to actually go to find that person and to kind of collect that ridership. PACE has done a lot to kind of update its policies on the van pools to, for just especially through the pandemic and with a lot of people 5 days a week at their place of employment. So they're looking at options for alternative payment plans or arrangements in demand pools. The other one that we looked at was really quite popular with the community was the circulator service that would be operated by a third-party provider and would drive people to key economic activities within a 5-mile area. That's that lift is kind of difficult. Obviously, you have to find the provider and find a driver. But if there's another alternative, that we can look at that is a private, option within the neighborhood, we're willing to look at that.
Thank you.
The circulator service, John, that's the one we're currently working with procurement on, an RFI, RFP. And we can revisit, the van pool. I know that was a recommendation. There was a small group of residents or residents that actually worked in a common area and see what we can do at least to help that sector.
I think the best thing that we could do is start with establishing it. Let's pick a date sometime in the next few weeks, hopefully, and have a field trip down there to see just look at the area, see what we could do about a number of these topics. So I will be talking to Chris about that and Mr. Evans and take it from there.
I'm happy to ask for it. Matt spent a lot of time in the neighborhood.
Yes, and John,
I'm certainly happy to demonstrate and show you some things.
Should we get a van?
To go down.
Go down there?
actually, that would probably be a great idea.
Seriously, because I think a lot of us want to go down there.
Yeah, I think that would be a
and
great
then
idea.
I might mention DOT too. They went and they joined the Santa Parade down there, and John was there. I remember, trying to build, like I said, build that community relationship out there.
But we're gonna
So,
do
yes,
it long
thank you.
before the Santa Parade.
We are going to do it long before.
Yeah.
Can I just make a recommendation? You have to set up as a meeting to be in compliance with the Open Meeting Act. It would be set up as a meeting, and we'd have to take notes so that it would be available to the public, because obviously you would want to be able to talk about county business while you're there.
Oh, okay, so
Good.
set it up. Okay, we'll do that.
So you're in too?
Sure. All right.
So it would be a sort of an auxiliary meeting to our regular schedule.
Could be our second July meeting.
There you go.
Okay. I think August would probably be an optimal time, so I think we'll do that. So we will work toward that and
No, to be honest with you, the Open Meeting Act should only need 2 days, so 48 hours.
any other new business?
New business.
Yes.
I would like to publicly thank Bill. Last Friday, we had our District 5 in Naperville meeting. And I know the previous, we try to meet quarterly. In the previous meeting, they had a lot of transportation questions. So Bill came along this Friday. He was the belle of the ball. He was the belle
I'm
of the
sure he would
ball.
really use those terms. He said it went well.
Everybody loved him. They picked his brain. He stayed longer than I did. I had to get out of there after an hour, but you were awesome. Thank you so much for coming. And he is the smartest person in the room. I swear, every question they threw at him, he just, he's fabulous.
In that room.
You're lucky to have him.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming again. And when we meet next quarter, you're invited back.
And I bet belle of the ball is something you've not been called in your professional career.
Bill of the ball.
Bill of the ball, excuse me. Okay, no, thank you very much.
Awesome staff.
Any other, yes, that I think we can all concur on.
Mary, can I ask one?
Certainly.
87th and Woodward, accident history, did they do anything with that intersection or?
So they made some signage changes, but there were some issues with, we talked about trying to shorten and change the turn lanes, right? We talked about that. And there were some issues with doing that need to be looked at by the engineering team. So they haven't done that. We haven't gotten the crash reports yet. And I've followed up with my staff with Woodridge, and they just haven't.
You
gotten-
call the mayor? See, it's been a couple of weeks.
It has been a surprisingly long time for getting police reports. We'll follow up, and then I'll get with the chief to find out why they haven't.
I've just been hearing from residents, a lot of accidents at that intersection and crazy with all the construction there. All right, thank you.
Any other questions or new business? Okay, hearing none, I move to adjourn this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.